In this video, I'm going to show you a tool that can help assess if 7 specific genes might be a key to understanding your health challenges. It's a free tool, and you don't need to have any genetic testing done. Before we jump into the tool itself, I want to set a bit of context, because this tool is only helpful if you understand how to think about the results. A lot of people come into chronic health issues asking, what supplement should I take? But in my experience, and especially with gut issues, that's usually the wrong starting point. A much better question is, where might my body be under the most stress right now? The idea of dirty genes comes from Dr. Ben Lynch's work in a book called Dirty Genes. And the most important thing to understand right away is this: dirty doesn't mean broken. Think of your genes more like dimmer switches than on-off switches. They respond to inputs: stress, sleep, nutrition, toxins, inflammation, and illness. When those inputs pile up, certain pathways start working harder than they're meant to. And that's what we're talking about here. Load, not defects. With that in mind, let me show you the Dirty Genes assessment tool. I do want to make one point. This is an educational tool, it's not a diagnostic one. It's designed to help you with identifying patterns, not to tell you what to take or what to fix. You can use it whether you have genetic testing or not. So let's move over to the tool. So you can find this tool on my website at dirtygenes.gutbuddy.ca. I'll put a link in the description for you to find it there. Again, this is a free tool. Navigate over to the website. What I would say first is have a look through the landing page. It does tell you a little bit more about the assessment. You're just going to answer a number of questions for each of the genes and 2 of the variants of the gene, and it will give you an output. So it will tell you your summary as well as walk through some information about each. Again, this isn't to diagnose conditions, it isn't to replace medical care, and it will not provide treatment plans. So click the Start Assessment button and we'll start to work through it. The first gene we're going to go through is MTHFR, which handles methylation and folate processing. When you go to answer these questions, you have yes, no, or not applicable, or you're not sure, you can answer it that same way. When you are answering them, think about what is mostly true most of the time for you and answer it that way. I am going to go through it and I'm going to answer it as an example. And so you can follow through. I will walk through each of these questions and explain more. There's a few of them that might need a little bit more detail. So, I suffer from headaches. No. I sweat easily and profusely while exercising. I'm going to answer yes to that question. I take supplements with folic acid and or eat foods enriched with folic acid. So this is one of the first questions that maybe needs a little bit more context. And so if you are in North America and you are eating a lot of bread, cereals, pastas that have been enriched, and you'll see it right on the back of the food packaging that says it's an enriched grain, that does mean that it's folic acid. Folic acid is a thin-setic version of folate. And so it's something that can cause issues. I don't typically have that or this example. And so I'm going to say no. I struggle with depression. No. I have cold hands and feet. When you're done with that section, you can hit next and you move on to the next one. Section 2 is DAO. This is a gene that handles histamine breakdown. Histamine is in a lot of food, especially meats, if they've been aged, processed, or they are leftovers, among other foods as well. And so for this, these questions are related to DAO. I tend to suffer from one or more of the following symptoms after eating leftovers: citrus or fish, and that would be irritability, sweatiness, nosebleeds, runny nose, and or headache. One of the hallmarks of this one is a runny nose after eating certain things, not necessarily just spicy, but other foods. In this example, I will say yes. I'm sensitive to red wine or alcohol. Most alcohols will either have histamine in them or something that's called a histamine liberator, meaning that it will cause more histamine to either be released or triggered. I'm going to say no in this example. I am sensitive to many foods or suffer from leaky gut syndrome. Leaky gut syndrome is really the junctions in your stomach being more porous or open and things actually moving through, which cause some of the food intolerances that are out there. In this example, I will say yes. Generally, I feel better 2 or 3 hours after a meal as compared to 20 minutes after eating. Again, this goes back to the histamine breakdown. If you are going to have a flare, it's normally right after you eat, whether it's due to leaky gut or just high histamine foods. You are going to have a reaction to it, but then over time that will go away. I'm going to say yes in this example. I felt better during pregnancy and could eat more varied foods. So this one's specifically more for females, or only for females. Men can hit not applicable. A lot of females will find that they can eat a different variety of foods while they're pregnant for a lot of different reasons, and so that's just another example there. In this section, we have COMT slow. This is the first of 2 genes that are actually have a variation, one for slow, one for fast. COMT breaks down dopamine, estrogen, and a few of the other things in your body. First question, I get headaches. I'm going to answer no to that. I find falling asleep a challenge. Yes. I easily become anxious or irritable. Yes. I suffer from PMS. You can either say no or not applicable if you're a male. I'm sensitive to pain. Nope. Or I am impatient, and I'm going to click yes. I will show what this looks like at the end. I'm doing a mix of all of the answers just so folks can get a sense of what the end result will look like. So this is the second variation of the COMT gene. So this is if it's fast. I struggle with attention and focus. No. I'm easily addicted to substances or activities, shopping, gaming, smoking, alcohol, or social media. No. I'm prone to feelings of depression. No. I lack motivation. I feel an initial happy rush after eating lots of carbs, starchy foods, but feelings of depression return quite quickly. No. Now, in this example, I did say no to all of these ones on the previous screen with the COMT slow. I said yes to a lot more of them. The reality is you're going to be more so one or the other. You're not going to be both. Moving forward to MAOA slow. So this is the second gene that has both a slow and a fast version of it. The MAOA gene helps with neurotransmitter clearance, so that would be things like dopamine and epinephrine. So I am easily stressed, panicked, or made anxious. Yes. I find it hard to calm down after becoming stressed or irritated. Yes. I enjoy wine, cheese, and or chocolate, but tend to feel irritable or off after I eat them. I'm plagued by migraines or headaches. I have difficulty falling asleep, but when I do, I stay asleep. So this is the second version of the MAOA. Again, because I was more on the slow side for this example, this one will likely be a lot more no's. Fall asleep quickly, but wake up earlier than I'd prefer. I'm prone to depression and lack of desire. I find that chocolate gives me a great mood lift. I tend towards smoking or alcohol addiction or excessive use. I achieve better mood after eating carbohydrates, but that improved mood doesn't help my focus or attention. So the next set are related to GST, GPX, which is really around antioxidant and detox capacity within your body. The first one is like a free square for everyone. So I breathe air and drink water. And the reality is almost all air, all water has some level of contamination. And so everyone is going to be exposed to this. I am sensitive to chemicals. In this example, it's really around, can you smell them? Do they bother you? Do they give you headaches or something else like that when you're around them for a prolonged period? I developed gray hairs early, and when I say early in this one, that's likely in your 20s and 30s, not, 50s, 60s, 70s. I have chronic conditions such as asthma, inflammatory bowel disease, autoimmune disease, diabetes, eczema, or psoriasis. I have neurological disorder that results in symptoms such as tics, tremors, seizures, or problems with gait. All right, section 8 is NOS3, and this is around nitric oxide and blood flow. I have above normal blood pressure. I have cold hands and feet. I tend to heal slowly after an injury or surgery. I'm a type 2 diabetic. and I'm postmenopausal. I tend to have generalized muscle pain, so this is for PEMT, which is the choline utilization and liver support. First question, I tend to have generalized muscle pain. I've been diagnosed with fatty liver. I'm a vegetarian, or I don't eat much beef, organ meat, caviar, or eggs. Again, that's related to the amount of choline that you get. I have gallstones or have my bladder removed. I've been diagnosed with a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. When you're done with that, that's the last section, and you can click See Results. All right, so what you're going to see now is the summary of your results. Each pathway is shown as either low, moderate, or high stress. And this is really where interpretation matters. High doesn't mean bad, low does not mean ignore. Think of it as a prioritization tool. If one or two pathways stand out, those are areas where your body may be working harder right now. What you're going to notice first is an executive summary that will order your genes in terms of highest to lowest, or high, then mediate, moderate, then low. As you scroll down, you're going to get a one-page summary for each. So what I have first is the DAO, or histamine breakdown gene, and you can see in the top right the level of stress that it's likely under based on the questions that you answered. You will see an overview of what the gene does. You will see signs of imbalance, so what will show up if it is under stress. You're also going to see some clean genes actions. So in this example, what you're going to see is lifestyle, nutrition, key nutrients, environmental load, and gut and microbiome support. So each of the genes will have this same layout. And what's really important here is to understand that it's not about adding things like adding new supplements. Where you do want to start is what are the things that you can simplify or reduce, looking at things like toxins, improving nutrition, sleep, and stress. And that would be the same things that are in the book Dirty Genes and what Dr. Ben Lynch would highlight as the most important. Look through each of the pages, start to understand the trends, what might be important to you. But a couple of really important pieces is, one, make sure that you're not trying to take all of this in. It is overwhelming. Start with either one or two of the priority areas, or one of the two are the trends across multiple of these. Please do download this. There is a download button right at the very top to make sure that you can have a copy of this and you can continue to work on it. So what should you do next? The most helpful next step is usually not adding something, it's reducing load. Things like sleep, stress, diet simplicity, and environment often matter more than supplements early on. Use this information as a learning guide or as a conversation starter with a practitioner you trust. This tool fits into the broader Gut Buddy approach, which is about layered, iterative healing. This is not about quick fixes, it's not about forced progress. Awareness comes first, then you build capacity, and then resilience over time. And so just to reiterate, this tool is educational only. It's not to diagnose conditions or replace medical advice. Everyone's situation is different, and support should always be personalized. So if you're curious, you can try the Dirty Genes assessment at the link in the description. Take it slow, stay curious, and remember, your body isn't broken, it's just responding. I hope this helps.